Hello, my name is Ryan Page, and I'm an application specialist for Tekla Structures. Today in this video, we'll be discussing general arrangement drawings. More specifically, how to control the representation and marks of our objects on GA drawings with object level settings. For this video specifically, we will be covering the following key points. First, we will briefly discuss the name and title fields of GA drawings and how they are applied. Then, we will provide an introduction to object level settings. Then we will move into how object level settings work and their relationship to other applicable GA drawing settings. Lastly, we'll discuss tips and best practices when using or creating our object level settings. So now, let's begin. One of the most common tasks for any drawing is specifying the drawing number and other title block information. This information can be populated when creating a drawing in Tekla or afterwards, and is done so through the name and title fields and some additional project properties. The name of the drawing is shown in the Document Manager and can be included in drawing and report templates. The maximum length for a drawing name is 32 characters, but may be more restricted on character length of the value field used to represent it in a template. Where these fields are placed on the title block can vary depending on the layout or title block you use to create your drawings. However, Tekla default title blocks use the same format. If we pan our drawing to the title block, we can see how things correlate. Name is used to represent the document or drawing number, whereas the three title fields are used to provide traditional descriptions for the drawing. However, in our case, only the Title 1 field is being referenced in our title block. That leaves the fields of project name, location, and customer unaccounted for. These fields are not drawing specific and therefore are being referenced from the project properties of our model. You can update these fields to reflect the accurate information in your project. Also note that these fields can be used and referenced when creating your own title blocks as well, so make sure to make note of them and how they're utilized. Detailed object level settings allow users to specify representation for marks and building objects in drawings, and then use these settings for specific purposes. In order to take advantage of these, the Use Detail Object Level Settings radial option must be set to Yes in the General Arrangement Drawing properties. If this is set to No, the General Arrangement Drawing will only apply the current standard settings for parts and marks in the drawing. This is due to the standard or default setting for both the part and the part mark settings. If we click on these options and open their dialog, we can see the correlation. The part mark settings are empty, and the part settings have green set as visible lines, and fills are set to automatic. It is important to note that the color affects line weight when printing drawings, so what colors you assign to your parts does matter. You can always find out the default line weights for each color by going to File, Print Drawings, and then selecting the Line Properties tab at the top. Line thicknesses are measured in tenths of a millimeter. These are the defaults, and users can specify their own thicknesses for each color. Part properties control a host of other visual representation options, and this is where you will control the way objects look. We'll dive deeper into part settings in a future video. But for now, know they control how your concrete and other objects look and are called out. Object level settings, just as any other settings in Tekla, have presets, and users can save their own presets at the top of the dialog box. The settings themselves consist of three different elements: a filter, a drawing object type, and then a setting. The logic here is that you specify a specific object type or group using a filter. Then you tell Tekla what type of object that is in the Drawing Object dropdown. Lastly, you specify how those objects will be represented using settings. This model was created with the cast-in-place rebar detailing template and therefore has predefined filters aligning with our work tasks. So we have a variety of cast-in-place filters already available. Users can create their own filters for specific object groups and group types. For use in drawings, these filters can be created from the Filters button at the bottom of the General Arrangement Drawing Properties dialog. They can also be created in the model as well. Just ensure that when you are creating your filters, specify which filter types you are creating using the drop-down at the top of the dialog. The object type gives us a variety of options, but they break down into two main categories: object types and mark types. Aside from that, you can see that they are specific to various object types, so that you can specify a part or part mark, reinforcement or reinforcement mark, and so on. These options all correlate to the setting buttons in the Marks and Objects sections of the General Arrangement drawing properties, and these are where you will specify those settings. The options in the Settings drop-down are the presets for each part type. The list is dictated by the object type you select, so if selecting part, you will only see preset settings for parts. Ensure that you are specifying the correct object type. The list is dictated by the object type you select, so if you select part, you will only see presets for parts. If you select reinforcement mark, you will only see those settings, so ensure that you are specifying the correct object type. There are a variety of settings available, but users can create their own part or rebar or any other setting available and use them here. The key point is that they need to be created through the appropriate part setting button from the General Arrangement Drawing Properties dialog. If you create settings and properties from the View Properties dialog or by double-clicking on a part, those settings you save will not be available for use in detail object level settings, so ensure to create your settings through the General Arrangement Drawing Properties dialog. Users can utilize the Tekla object level settings for drawings, modify them, or create their own from scratch. The key is to define the filter to isolate the objects, specify what that object type is, and then choose how to represent it. It's also a best practice that before you start creating or customizing, you should provide a name and create a Save As file. Then, as you modify, continue to save periodically with the same Save As name. It's easiest and probably most effective to give each object type its own filter and therefore its own line in the object level settings. It is also best to keep your object types grouped together. It keeps things organized and easy to manage. When defining your settings, it is common to apply your settings as you go so that you can verify things are working as intended. Keep in mind that you will have separate settings for parts, rebar, bolts, and so on. And if you intend to have marks applied to each of those, you'll need to create lines for that as well. So you may find yourself using the same filters more than once in object level settings. As with most settings in Tekla, once you've finished, you can then copy the corresponding files to your firm folder for use in all future models. You may want to save all of your settings with a company abbreviation first, as it makes your custom settings much easier to find and manage. Creating object level settings can be an iterative process, so remain flexible to adjust your settings in the future. Once you've established your initial object level settings, utilize this as your starting point for additional object level settings that are more applicable to other drawing types or view types, such as sections and details. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching. For more information on the topics discussed or other topics, make sure to visit our Tekla User Assistance webpage for product guides, support articles, tutorials, and more.